Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Findacure's very first scientific networking event. We're really excited to have you all here tonight. It's quite an impressive crowd already, which is fantastic. A really diverse audience, so hopefully everyone will enjoy. The first thing I need to do is just make a quick note of thanks to our sponsors, NAP, who've put together a little funding package to help us have a roof over our heads tonight and some very nice drinks and food, which is on the way after I finish speaking, so thank you guys. And then introduce Findacure and myself. So my name is Rick Thompson. You'll see me looking a bit too surprised here. And I'm Findacure's new scientific officer. I've been working there for just over 3 months. And my responsibilities really are the drug repurposing program that we're trying to move forward as a charity. Joining me tonight is Flora Fye, who you can see just over here. Flora's going to be Queen of the Bell tonight, so if you hear it ringing madly, you know who to blame. Flora is in charge of all things kind of patient empowerment with Findacure, and the person to talk to for everything you want to know about the charity. I'll answer questions too though, so do just kind of chat to us at any point tonight. The third member of the team is Nick Thoreau, who you'll probably know from the AKU Society. He couldn't be here tonight, but again, he just sends us welcome and thanks for coming. So you know a little bit about who we are, so I'll tell you about what we do. Findacure is a rare disease charity, and we're focusing on genetic rare diseases. And our main aim is to kind of create a rare disease community. We've got 3 major strands of work. The first of those is to empower patient groups. So we're really trying to help patient groups to have the resources they need to build a community within different rare diseases, to talk to people newly diagnosed with diseases, but also to help those patient groups talk to the medical community and academics. More importantly, really though, is to join those rare disease patient groups together to form one big unified rare disease community. The thing I'm working on is facilitating treatment development, so really trying to find new cures for rare diseases or new treatments using drug repurposing. I'll tell you a lot more about that in a bit. The third thing is to campaign for a receptive research environment, essentially trying to make sure that scientists and academics know about the problems of rare diseases, but also that people in the general public are aware of them as well. So why rare diseases? It's a really big problem that's been really addressed by society in general. Okay? There are between 6,000 to 8,000 identified rare diseases, but it seems that maybe only 200 of them have licensed treatments. So there's a huge healthcare gap here. There's about 3.5 million people in the UK that suffer from rare diseases, so you can see there's potentially quite a large voice there that could be quite big on the national stage if it was united. But generally, when patients are diagnosed, they feel isolated. It's obviously, with any rare disease, a small patient population means it's hard to find doctors to inform you about the disease, and it's also hard to find other patients who know something about your experiences, and that's why patient groups are really so important for the rare disease community. It also makes it really difficult to study rare diseases and really difficult to fund research into them. And it makes a big problem for pharmaceutical companies too, because it's hard for them to recover their investment into rare diseases. Rare diseases are also kind of exceptions, and William Bateson, the father of modern genetics, told us to treasure our exceptions. We should really look at rare diseases as an amazing case study where we can learn a huge amount about modern biology and science. And we're really passionate about that at Findacure, but we think it's important that doctors, researchers and patients are all united under this kind of goal. So why drug repurposing? We essentially think it could make a really big difference to deliver treatments to patients very quickly. Drug repurposing is really simple. You take a drug that is marketed and approved for one condition in humans, and you try and find a new condition that it could treat. And this is something that has a lot of advantages. Firstly, you kind of eliminate the need for de novo drug discovery, which is really expensive, really time-consuming, and really quite chancy. When you know something about the chemical you're looking at, you know something about the pathways of action, and this can make it much, much easier for you to try and identify potential drugs for different diseases. Sorry about the pronunciation. Also, you know a lot about the safety profile and the side effects of these drugs, and that's a really big deal. We can really potentially even use side effects to give us clues to types of rare diseases. If you know about side effects, you can also potentially use those as a way to identify new diseases that drugs can be treated. So really, drug repurposing is about exploiting and maximising the existing pool of pharmaceuticals. People generally say that the pharmaceutical pool right now potentially can treat nearly every biochemical pathway in the human body, and if that's the case, surely we can find repurposing projects that can allow us to treat many more drugs and rare diseases today. Essentially then, repurposing represents a potentially rapid and cheap way to find new cures for rare diseases. So what are Findacure's plans? They're quite simple and a little bit ambitious. We're hoping to identify 10 generic drugs that we can use to repurpose into rare diseases. The aim here is to try and fund this portfolio and put them through clinical trials, ideally kind of an early phase 2 clinical trial as a proof of concept for these repurposed drugs and rare disease research. We're then hoping to see off-label prescriptions to patients around the UK. What we need to do is get certain things in line though to find good ideas. And the first thing is science. We need to understand the science of these diseases, know what mutations cause them, what disease pathways are active and how we can feed drugs in there, and the types of models that exist, whether they're cell models or animal models for diseases. We need the infrastructure to be in place as well. We need really strong patient groups to help give us access to patients for clinical trials, but also to guide us somewhat in different landmarks that we need for clinical trials and what patients are actually looking for in their treatments. We need researchers and clinicians too to actually run these trials. Finally, we need funding, which is obviously really easy. We just need to get some money. We're hoping to apply for some grants, and we can look out for friendly for this as well. They're always good. But what we're really interested in Findacure is social financing. We think we've got an innovative funding model that we could use for repurposing research in rare diseases, and that's called the social impact bond. This is a kind of investment vehicle, so essentially we need investors to put their money into the bond. Using that, we hope to use that money to fund the phase 2 clinical trials for these 10 generic drug repurposing projects. Now the idea here is that we will hopefully have some successful trials that will save money to the NHS. And they'll save money initially just because we're looking at generic drugs and they should have a very low cost to the NHS. What we want to do is tap into these savings. We're hoping that a portion of the savings incurred by the NHS can be paid back into the impact fund. And this gives us a way to generate some kind of income from generic drugs that otherwise you'd sell at a very, very low rate. What we can do then is we pay our investors, which is always important, but more excitingly perhaps we can use that money to fund further research in more drugs and develop a kind of potentially self-sustaining drug repurposing cycle. So what have we done so far? Well, Flora and Nick hired this little chap here to work full-time on repurposing research. And I've been doing lots of different things basically. I'm applying for charity funding with big lottery funds, so what we're trying to do is get a development grant which will allow us to develop this idea into a really detailed proof of concept study in specific rare diseases. One example of that is for congenital hyperinsulinism, which we'll be hearing a little bit more about later. What we're currently doing is trying to develop a budget impact model, which will try and assess how much this disease costs the NHS now with standard treatment, and how much a repurposed treatment will cost the NHS. This should hopefully give us a proof of concept that we can save the NHS money. Finally, we've been working on a prioritisation model for rare diseases, try and understand which rare diseases are in a good position for repurposing research, and also which rare disease repurposing projects actually fit into a social impact model. And using that, we really are now open to repurposing ideas. It would be great if anyone in the audience or anyone you know had any ideas they think might suit this model that we could use to repurpose drugs into rare diseases. So that's all I really want to say about Findacure. I'll just give you a brief idea about the evenings today. The plan really is simple. It's a networking event and we want you all to chatter as you were when I started, which pleased to be great. Try and forge some connections between the really diverse audience we've got here. Throughout the evening there are going to be short lightning talks. And the idea here is hopefully just to promote some conversation, but also just give us a taste of the type of work that's going on around the UK in drug repurposing. So we've got a great programme tonight, which hopefully you'll have seen in your delegate packs. There's a few of those around the room if you want to check it out. Be aware that the first talk is going to be about 15 minutes time, at past. And what you need to listen out for is the bell, which will give you the cue that it's time for a talk to begin. Great if you could all just pay your attention towards the people who've kind of given their time to talk to us. So that's all there is from me. Thank you so much for coming. I hope it was really useful. And let the networking commence.